This is Luke Paulson, the Catholic Conservative, and welcome to the News of the Week for August 21st, 2021. And if you enjoy these videos, do not forget to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe for more. Even the fake news is willing to admit that how troops were removed from Afghanistan was a royal disaster. Biden told us that the Afghanistan forces outnumbered the Taliban.
Is the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan now inevitable?
No, it is not. Because you have the Afghan troops have 300,000 well-equipped as any army in the world, and an air force against something like 75,000 Taliban.
However, from what I have gleaned, they did not even put up a fight. Facebook scrubbed any image of the Taliban forces obtaining U.S. hardware. After spending trillions, countless lives lost, and 20 years of work, the country is now in the hands of the Taliban. Is it possible that the forces that we trained always planned to roll over because of how infuriated they were at our military presence? Biden may have botched the outcome, but there are two things to remember. One, keep your eye on Washington. I have been around long enough to know that this is the perfect distraction. Two, this problem was compounded over 4 presidents. There are a lot of people who tried to escape. We left a lot of Americans behind and many human rights violations. Every time that the United States gets involved in the politics of another country, we only make the situation worse. And we cannot be the police force of the world. We need to get out of these countries because we always make things worse. There are humanitarian crises in Cuba, Venezuela, Northern Africa, North Korea, India, China, and Hong Kong. Yet the warhawks are not bending over backward to go to these places. All that being said, we can still work to protect these people, but we have options other than military force. Take Cuba and Hong Kong, for example. We can use special balloons to grant them access to Wi-Fi and the internet, even if the regime cuts it off. Granted, there are some times that military might is the only option, but it must not be the only tool in our arsenal. A Honolulu police officer, after a case of mistaken identity, locked a man away in a state hospital. Mr. Spreisterbach was none too happy and insisted that the officer made a mistake. Instead of looking into his claims, he was declared psychotic and locked away where he was heavily medicated. This all happened under a mistake that was swept under the rug. Imagine how dangerous things could be if police could take your child away because you do not let your child change his gender. Children are already taken away because of this, and things are going to get a lot worse very soon. Speaking of cross-dressers, Netflix, for those of you who are smart enough to stay away from that vile business, released a special called Pray Away. The movie attacks the mercy of God because it claims that you cannot leave your homosexual or transgender lifestyle behind and become a new creation in Jesus. Jeffrey McCall is the lone voice in the movie before the sinful propaganda begins. Somehow, McCall's attempt to get people to repent of their sin is the same as conversion therapy, which is banned in some parts of the country. However, McCall and his staff found that the Pray Away crew were not even remotely interested in promoting both sides of the issue, but wanted to create a target. Why are people still paying for this anti-Christian service? Many people seem to believe that gender can be changed based on woke medical science. When politics guides the scientific process, the scientific process does not occur. As I'm sure you know, history is being rewritten, and at other times erased. While this was debated back in 2013, I think it is worth revisiting. I have a rare form of autism known as Borger syndrome, so I do not waste any time explaining. Check out the video in the card and in the description. Hans Asperger was a Nazi, and thus some people tried to reclassify this disorder in order to avoid any association. Others are trying to eliminate the classification altogether. This will not help the kids that are suffering. I cannot imagine how much harder my childhood might have been if I was never able to get the proper treatment just because people were afraid of a name. Call it what it is, and do not erase history. It was largely Nazi scientists that developed what we now know about frostbite with their inhumane experiments. This is far from the most important story of the week, but I think that it bears mentioning. As I am sure that you all know, there are many nonsensical laws concerning the purchase and sale of alcohol. One such rule in Texas is that a store cannot sell alcohol before noon on a Sunday, because we all know that the chemical structure of the beer magically changes at noon on Sundays to be safe to drink, but only on Sundays. All other days it is safe to drink at 7. Soon, you will be able to buy beer starting at 10 in the morning. Granted, I believe that beer is immoral and one should avoid it like the plague, but that is not my place. As long as no one is driving under the influence, I do not care. That being said, we were never supposed to let it get this far. We are being played for saps by the elite and politically connected, and not enough people are standing up. I have not heard much new information about the mostly peaceful protest on January 6th lately. Although the fake news is covering it just like they did the nothing burger that was Russia, there is not much new. I guess since their narrative of breaking in fell apart because of facts.
I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room.
Oh, there we go.
But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist, or that hell actually wasn't that bad.
They had to try something else. Now, there must have been dark money involved. Because somehow the fact that the FBI was involved, the protesters were let into the building, and all parties involved said that this had to be peaceful, obviously leads one to think about dark money. Maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker, but that is just my opinion. And if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also please consider following me on social media.